First of all, this project was to create a 3D design of all the components and chassis of radio control car. We based all our design in Apex radio control car. So here, as you can see, we have all the components that make up the car. We separate all parts in a specific order to make sure not lose any pieces. We first made the front components, then rear components, and finally the base and chassis.
How did we create the Apex radio control card using Parametric 3.0? The program Creo Parametric 3.0 was used to make all the components. The front bumper was started on the right plane. I started looking at the piece at this angle and created this part with an extrusion. I made the sketch of the side and did not take into account any details yet. I made the sketch and extrude it to the largest measurement first. Then I made this cut. Using this measurement with an extrusion. I then worked on these two shapes. I used the front plane to offset the plane in which I made my sketch. I took the length measurements of the part. I took the diameter of the half-top circle. I took the height, the width, the length. I made the sketch using those measurements, and I extruded to the selected surface. I made the holes using the measurements taken, and after being completely done with one side, I mirrored using the right plane. Now, the cut on the bottom was made with an extrusion and material was removed. I then made the profile ribs. I used the right plate and I offset it to the distance measured. I measured the thickness and the length. I made the other rib using the mirror command and the right plane. Then I made the 3 holes in the bottom. First, I made the bottom part, then I made the hole on the top, both using revolve. I then grouped both commands into one to be able to pattern and make the 3 holes necessary. Lastly, I made the final details. I made the final details of the surface. I completed this by using an extrusion.
The rest of the components were created using the same commands. They roughly follow the same process. From the sketch, an extrusion, or a revolve was made, depending on what the part requires. One piece was explained to describe in detail the entire process of how we use cryo-parametric to design the whole radio control car. Each designer has access to the assembly model while the work is in process and with cryo-parametric, pieces can after all the competition of the law. Components can be positioned within the product assembly using absolute coordinate placement methods or by means of mating conditions. Mating conditions are definitions of the relative position of two phases. In this video we can see the final assembly of the main components. In here, the main product assembly is divided into sub-assemblies having specific functions. The sub-assemblies are constituted of parts further sub-assemblies. The top-level parameters control the main design, insert, and characteristic.
While doing the assembly, the first thing we need to think is that we have to have some standards, and by standards we mean quality, we mean in time, we mean pieces to be exactly as possible. We define the tolerance of the pieces to be 0.05 at least, because we need to understand that working as a team, it means to have different point of views while generating these pieces in the computer using ProEngineer. We also have to think about that not all the assemblies work the same, and meaning that if I divide if I divide the car in 3 weeks as it's been said, at the final assembly of the whole parts won't work exactly if you don't have the exact measurements. There were several problems, several concerns while doing the assembly, and one of those were the measurements. Because again, sometimes the calipers we use are not as precise as we would like to have it. So as a conclusion, we can say that the objectives of doing the car weightless, aerodynamic, and also to put the both splitters, one at the front and one at the rear, was almost accomplished. And I said almost because we didn't design exactly the splitters we promised. The car is not done yet with the things we set or we designed, and hopefully we will be working on the design to get it done as soon as possible. But with the other things, by promising that it will be weightless, it's still on board. And on the other hand, the chassis is also being aerodynamic. The final design will be shown on Friday.